Hello everybody and welcome to our discovery walk of Pulau Tikus. We are going to start our walk right here in front of Axis Shopping Mall along Jalan Cantonment. Jalan Cantonment is one of the main roads in Pulau Tikus and is very near to the Pulau Tikus market. However, we are not going through Pulau Tikus market today. Perhaps I'll cover that in a different video in future. In front of us is the intersection of Jalan Cantonment with Jalan Burma, and this I would consider as the very heart of Pulau Tikus. It's a very nice blue sky day, and surprisingly the traffic is quite low today. We are going to go across the intersection diagonally. And now we are at Jalan Burma or Burma Road, and we can see some of the new high-rise condominiums in Pulau Tikus. And this is Jalan Burma itself, one of the main roads leading out of Georgetown. We are now walking through the traditional heart of Pulau Tikus, where we have pre-war houses on both sides. If you're Malaysian, you would know the meaning of Pulau Tikus, but if you're a foreigner watching this, then you might be surprised that the name Pulau Tikus means Mouse Island. Despite that rather unflattering name, Pulau Tikus is one of the more affluent neighborhoods of Georgetown. Although today most of the people living in Pulau Tikus are Chinese, in the past we have quite a substantial number of Eurasians, Thais and Burmese. This is reflected in the name of the roads, like this one, which is known as Lorong Bangkok or Bangkok Lane. The junction of Bangkok Lane with Burma Road has a small cluster of hawker stalls which are quite popular with the locals. In the coffee shop across the road, there used to be a famous mee goreng stall, but the stall has since moved on to Newell Park. Bangkok Lane is lined on both sides with beautiful double-story semi-detached houses. Originally built in the 1920s as residences, many of these houses have since been converted to commercial use and house cafes, guest houses and boutiques. These houses are beautifully well preserved and exhibits elements of Art Deco as well as arts and craft architecture styles. As we walk along Bangkok Lane, we can feel how quiet it is even though we are still in the heart of Georgetown. You can see that behind these houses are the high-rise office buildings that front Cantonment Road. We are going to walk the entire stretch of Bangkok Lane until the junction of Kelawei Road. And as we do that, let's admire all the houses along this road. I can even hear birds chirping, so it's such a vast difference from the main road. As you watch this video, may I ask you, are you a local person from Penang, or are you a Malaysian from another state, or perhaps you are a foreigner watching this? Can you tell me who you are? Just write about yourself in the comments, and also let me know if there's anything anywhere in Penang that you would like me to walk and do a discovery tour. It is always my joy to get to know new people, especially those who have visited my website and YouTube channel. I have been writing my website for the past 21 years, and by January 2025, I will begin my 22nd year writing the site. Okay, we have now reached the end of Bangkok Lane or Lorong Bangkok, as the road sign says over here. One final look at Bangkok Lane before we move on. And in front of us is Jalan Kelawei or Kelawei Road. Now let's walk along Jalan Kelawei or Kelawei Road. On this side is the Penang or Thai Temple Tower of Wat Chaiyamangkalaram. This is the oldest and possibly biggest Thai Buddhist temple in Penang. In front of us is Kelawei Road, which is a one-way street heading out of Georgetown. I often tell people that the major roads in Georgetown are like fingers of a hand, and one of them is Kelawei Road, followed by Burma Road, McAllister Road, Dhammikarama Road, and Jelutong Road. Across the road to our left is Setia V Residence, a luxury condominium. It was one of the tallest condominiums in Penang when it was completed, but has since been surpassed. One more look at Setia V Residence before we move on. And now we continue on Lorong Burma or Burma Lane. This is the heart of the Thai Burmese enclave of Georgetown. To our right is Wat Chaiyamangkalaram, while to our left is the Dhammikarama Burmese Temple, possibly the only Burmese temple in Georgetown. The Thai and Burmese communities formed their enclave here on land given by Queen Victoria in the mid-19th century. Of course, when I say given by Queen Victoria, I mean given by the British in the name of their monarch, because I doubt Queen Victoria herself has any knowledge of this place. Here we are at the grand entrance to Wat Chaiyamangkalaram, and is so glittering and resplendent in this clear blue sky day. It is a major tourist attraction in Penang because of this large reclining Buddha, which was, I believe, the third longest at the time of its completion. But we are not entering the temple today. I will take you to visit this temple in a separate video. But it doesn't hurt to just give it a peek. So there we are, Wat Chaiyamangkalaram. In future, I hope to take you on a tour of both these temples. But for today, we are going to continue along the streets of Pulau Tikus. My intention is to show you every single part of Penang and to explain all these places to you. Right in front of us is Mumian Rise, another luxury condominium. As Pulau Tikus is a more affluent neighborhood of Georgetown, you'll find quite a number of luxury condominiums here. And in between, you see some of their older buildings, many of which have been converted for commercial use. The urban morphology of Georgetown is such that it's like a layer cake, with one layer of development over the next, over the next, and over the next. When Penang was founded in 1786, this area was entirely forested, and then later on came the Eurasian, and then later on came the Thais and the Burmese. There used to be a substantial Burmese and Thai settlement over here, but over time these have shrunk to just a cluster of village houses. Those few houses you can still see today. Pay attention to what we have on the fencing on our right. There's this pair of figurines at the entrance of this house. I am guessing here that this must be the figurine of a holy man. Houses here are part of the Siamese village that continues to cling to this part of Penang Island while development swirls around it. These are historical buildings that give a glimpse into Penang's past before all the development uprooted everything. Development is constantly trying to sandpaper away the rich culture and heritage that we enjoy here in Penang. Through this walk, I hope to show you that not all is lost, they are still here, but I'm not quite sure for how long. Looking past the gate is almost like looking into a different century. What should we save and what should we let go? It's not an easy question to answer. For those of us who are not personally involved, it is very easy for us to say, we should save, or no, we should tear down. Sometimes it's up to the individual who actually occupy those premises for them to have their voice, whether they want to have it safe or they want to let go and move on. And we are back at Burma Road in the heart of Pulau Tikus. As with most of the neighborhoods of Georgetown, it is quite homogeneously Chinese. But it was not so in the past. As I've just shown you, back in the early 20th and even 19th century, there's a substantial number of Burmese and Thais living in this area. Even the Chinese themselves have become homogenized and Mandarinized. They have lost their identity as being Hokkien or Cantonese or Teochew or Hakka, and all identify themselves as simply Chinese. Even the lingua franca that they used to use here, Penang Hokkien, is gradually being marginalized and pushed aside by Mandarin. It's not something that we can prevent, but I would not be entirely surprised if one day the Chinese of Penang forgot that they were once Hokkien or Cantonese or Teochew and simply identify themselves as Chinese. Would you consider that a loss? I'm not sure, perhaps you can tell me. This stretch of Burma Road is a bottleneck, with shop houses coming right to the street themselves. There's simply no way to further widen the road. We passed the junction of Bangkok Link once again, and now we are heading towards Cantonment Road. When these shop houses were built a long time ago, I think they never thought that they would need the road to be wider. The traffic is smooth today, but often there will be cars stopping by the roadside, and this creates further congestion. We are once again at the intersection of Burma Road with Cantonment Road. It's a beautiful day to go for a walk, even though with this blue sky it's incredibly hot. On the opposite side of the road, you can see an old toddy shop. It is almost unimaginable today to think that once upon a time there were toddy shops all over Georgetown and they were operated by the city council. This is Taman Festival apartment. When it was completed, it was one of the taller buildings in Pulau Tikus, but nowadays, such a height would be considered short. Some of the newest condominiums in Pulau Tikus are 4 times this height. In front of us once again is Kelawei Road. This part of Pulau Tikus was first settled by the Eurasian who created their own settlement over here. It was the Eurasians who gave Pulau Tikus its name, but yet nowadays it's almost very difficult for us to find any traces of the Eurasian even in Pulau Tikus. Nevertheless, we can still find remnants of them from the name of roads. Urbanization has very much expunged Pulau Tikus of its Eurasian past. Moreover, many of the Eurasians have migrated to Australia and elsewhere. And in their place, the Chinese have moved in, and so it has created a more Chinese characteristic for present-day Pulau Tikus. Many of the houses along Kelawei Road in Pulau Tikus were originally built as residences, but many of these have since been converted for commercial use. By looking at the height of buildings, you can more or less judge how old they are. So the oldest would be those single-story houses, followed by the apartments which are about 10 stories high, and then the newer ones would be the condominiums which are several dozen stories tall. Just now I mentioned that many of the houses along Kelawei Road has been converted to commercial use, and in a way it's quite understandable. Kelawei Road has become a major thoroughfare. It is now very busy and noisy. So many of those people who once stayed here probably moved away because it has become rather too noisy. The road in front of us is Landros Lane. It was named after somebody named Landros, who is a Eurasian who used to own much of the land in this part of Pulau Tikus. And here's the road sign for Lorong Landros or Landros Lane. When I was in primary school, I had a teacher who stayed at Landros Lane. She taught me in standard 5, but her house has long been gone now. In front of us here is Gurney Paragon Mall, which had its soft opening a long time ago on the 16th of January 2012. That was for its Gurney Drive frontage, and a full opening on the 23rd of July 2013. The shopping mall encases the St. Joseph Novitiate, which is part of the St. Joseph's Training College, which was part of the College General Complex. The complex has since moved to its present site at Mount Miriam in 1984. The site was also occupied by the Uplands International School until the school moved to its campus in Batu Ferringhi, and the site was redeveloped for this mall. Now right in front of us is Solok Serene, an otherwise obscure little lane in Pulau Tikus. The name Serene means Eurasian, and at the very end of this lane is the Penang Eurasian Association. Let's walk all the way to take a peek at it. Just as with the Thais and the Burmese, the presence of the Eurasians in Penang is very much now a footnote. We only know of them by what they left behind. And in Pulau Tikus, perhaps the most important thing that they left behind is the name Pulau Tikus itself. Yeah, it was the Eurasians who gave the name Pulau Tikus to this place. They were the first to come here to clear the land and to establish their settlement. And there in front of us is the Penang Eurasian Association. Of course, there are still Eurasians here in Penang, but their numbers are so few compared to what it was back then, and their numbers are totally overwhelmed by the Chinese and the Malays today. I do not have the numbers, but I would not be entirely surprised if there are more expatriates here in Penang than Eurasians. The expat community congregate in Tanjung Tokong and Tanjung Bunga on the northeastern side of Penang Island. There's also quite a number of Westerners and Chinese people who have come here to retire. So we can say that the demographics of Penang is one that is continuously changing with the infusion of new people from other places and the exit of those who were here to other places. And we are back at Kelawei Road, and if you can picture in your mind's eye, if you were to look across from here and if there were no shopping malls, you may even see the sea. That would be the view that greeted the Eurasians when they first arrived here and decided to form their settlement in this part of Penang Island. The sea would also be much closer back then than it is today. With several rounds of reclamation, the shoreline has been pushed outward. And you might be wondering, why are there Eurasians here in Penang, and who are the Eurasians? That's one part of Malaysian history that ties up with world history and is evaporating before our very eyes. Those of you who are Malaysians would probably remember that in 1511, the Malacca Sultanate fell into the hands of the Portuguese. For over 100 years, the Portuguese in Malacca would intermarry with the locals to create of their offspring a people which we know today as Eurasians, or in Malay, serene. The conquest of Malacca also provided the Portuguese with the opportunity to propagate the Catholic faith. Over here we have Lorong Maktab, which translates as College Lane, and when I was growing up, I was curious which particular college is that, and nowadays I understand it is referring to the College General or the College of the Catholics. So most of the roads in this area has the name Maktab, which means college, and it is based on the name for College General, a Catholic theological seminary that was originally here but has since moved to Mount Miriam in Tanjung Bunga. The mission work for propagating the Catholic faith was known as Sacred Congregation for the Propagation of the Faith, or in Latin, Sacra Congregatio de Propaganda Fidei. And from this Latin word, we get the English word propaganda, although not from its original Catholic meaning. After the Dutch conquered Malacca in 1641, the Eurasians there became refugees. They fled to all different places, and some of them ended up in Siam. For the next 100 plus years, the Eurasians and subsequently their offspring were staying in Siam. To our left is the convent school set up by the Catholics in Pulau Tikus. As you can see, the presence of the Catholic was used to be very strong in Pulau Tikus, but it's waning and it is eventually being erased. The Eurasian Catholic community of Pulau Tikus is the second group of Catholics to arrive in Penang, following the first group which established the Church of the Assumption in Fakua Street. This second group packed up and left Siam when the situation there was becoming not that hospitable to Catholics. At the end of 1809, Father Jean Pascal arrived in Phuket just as the Burmese was attacking Phuket, and as a result of that, he and his fellow Catholics and also the Christian there were all rounded up and taken hostage. They were packed into a sampan which was towed by the Burmese fleet, possibly to be taken somewhere in Burma where they would be held for ransom. However, Father Pascal and his men managed to slip away. Perhaps they cut the ropes off the sampan and set loose. They escaped all the way to Penang, more half dead than alive. The sampan arrived in Tanjung Bunga next to a small island which they learned was called Pulau Tikus because it has the shape or profile of a rodent. From there, they walk along the coast until they arrive at this site. And here, they established the church, which is called Church of the Immaculate Conception. I'm looking across the road right now at the convent Pulau Tikus Secondary School, but on this side of the road is the church. So here's the Church of the Immaculate Conception. It began in 1809 or 1810 as a wooden chapel and became a proper church in the year 1819. Although this church was founded by the Eurasians who were Catholics, the population of Catholics in Pulau Tikus area has dwindled to just a handful. I just saw on the signboard it says that the church was established in the year 1811, which makes sense because the Catholics arrived in 1809, and I was postulating perhaps it was founded in 1809 or 1810, but according to the church itself it's 1811. But whether it's in the church or elsewhere in Pulau Tikus, you will find that the majority of the people in Pulau Tikus are today Chinese. At this corner of the church is the St. Chester Monument, the memorial to the only parish priest in Malaysia to ever be made a saint, not counting St. Francis Xavier. St. Chester, who was born Jacques Aurore Charleston, was a parish priest of this church from 1830 to 1833. To our left is Balisa Road, an arcade of shops with offices. It, along with apartments in this area, occupies land that once belonged to the Eurasians. And on our right is Burma Road or Jalan Burma, named after the Burmese community that once occupied Pulau Tikus. But aside from the Myanmar foreign workers that take on many jobs in Penang nowadays, the original Burmese settlers who arrived here in the 17th or 18th century is now largely forgotten except for the name of the road. In front of us is the name of Pulau Tikus written in different languages. As I walk along the roads and explore places in Penang to explain them to you, I'm also curious about the people who actually watch my videos. Would you perhaps take a moment to comment and let me know who you are, whether you are from Penang, whether you're a foreigner, whether you're a visitor, and whether the information that I'm sharing with you will provide you information that you might find interesting. When I have the time, I will cover some more roads in Penang and explain them to you. But to do such explanation requires some research also, so that I can have the facts at my fingertips when I walk those roads. But in making these videos, I hope to be able to keep and preserve the history of the places covered, so that by just viewing my videos, you have some idea of the history and not just see roads for roads itself. Nowadays, Pulau Tikus is a suburb or outskirt of Georgetown. It is very much part of the city itself. In fact, the entire island of Penang is a city. So it's a very different place from the Pulau Tikus that Father Pascal saw when he and his Catholic refugees arrived. I'm sure Father Pascal will be so astonished if he will have the chance to walk the streets of Pulau Tikus today, so see how much it has changed from the time he arrived to see that this whole area was forested. We will take this back road to cut across and return to where we first started. As you can see, Immediately away from the main road, we have pockets of neighborhood of which are oases of serenity. In front of us is Brother James Road, which by the name, I would gather that he would be another Catholic brother associated with the St. Xavier School nearby. If you have any information on this Brother James, for whom this road was named, please tell me in the comments so that I would like to know too. Yes, it's true that we never stop learning, and although I can try to explain to you so many things, there are still so many things that I do not know, and perhaps you, the person who is watching this video, might have the information and can share with me. In front of us is Cantonment Road, which was the road we started our walk earlier. So this walk is about to come to an end soon. I hope you enjoyed walking with me, and perhaps this information that I shared to you about Pulau Tikus might be entertaining or interesting. If you have enjoyed it, please give this video a like so that YouTube will show it to more people. And also, if you enjoy walking with me, subscribe to Discover with Timothy, and I'll take you on other walks in future. And we are back at Axis Shopping Center once again. And once again, thank you so much for watching this video, and please click on the thumbnail to watch the next one.